Let's get the latest now with SABC News correspondent Trent, who joins us live from Berlin. Trent, a very good afternoon to you. A lot of developments in the Middle East in the past 24 hours. But how is Europe reacting to Iran's statement against Israel?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, much of Europe has, I think, awoken to this news on this Sunday with quite a bit of shock at what really is being seen as an unprecedented step by the Iranians, just given the sort of volume of projectiles that were used and the payload of some of them. As you might imagine, just a chorus of condemnation really from across the European continent. We've heard from the EU top diplomat Joseph Borrell, who's called the situation a grave threat to regional security. Rishi Sunak, of course, the UK Prime Minister, said, and I'll quote here, Iran has once again demonstrated that it is intent on sowing chaos in its own backyard. The British Prime Minister also, though, paying tribute to those members of the Royal Air Force who actually participated in the operation last night, trying to shoot down those drones and cruise missiles alongside the IDF as well as US Air Force. France also condemning the situation. And we know Chancellor Olaf Scholz here of Germany continuing to reiterate that Germany stands by Israel and will discuss the situation with its allies. But that condemnation, as you might imagine, has not been met well by Tehran. We understand at this hour that the Iranian government has summoned the French, British and German ambassadors over what they say is the West's hypocrisy to the way it's responded so strongly against versus its a lack of response from the Iranians' perspective to what happened with that strike in Damascus on April 1. So, look, obviously still a very tender, difficult, delicate situation in the Middle East, but it's one that here in Europe they are keeping a very, very close eye on out of fears that it could really spiral out of control into a major regional war.
Thank you, Trent, for that. I don't know if we still have some time on your side, but I wanted to quickly understand. I mean, we expect the G7, it is expected to meet today, and I was asking about any expectations so far as to how that meeting will turn out.
Look, I'm really sorry. I've got a pretty bad telephone line here, but I think that you were asking me about potential reaction and what could happen next. You know, I think what Europe is well aware of is that right now there are discussions taking place between Tel Aviv and the United States. Some reporting suggesting that President Joe Biden is attempting to walk the Israelis back here from responding in a major way, because, of course, if they do, then it really could escalate into a major two-state war between Iran and Israel. What we have to remember is that sort of axis of resistance, as the Iranians themselves call it, those different proxy groups that oppose Israel, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, for example, they of course have fired rockets and the like at Israel in the past, but this is the first time Iran has done it directly from their territory. That's what makes this so unprecedented, and so the Israelis may well want to respond, but there is a fear that if they do, then Iran could do it again. And there's just question marks over how much those Western allies can continue to intercept them in the way that they did overnight. I thought I would just briefly, if I could, read a statement here from NATO, because I think it sums up quite how a lot of the West is thinking. It says it is vital that the conflict in the Middle East does not spiral out of control, and they are calling for restraint and monitoring the developments very closely. We understand a G7 meeting will be taking place, a virtual one, in the next 24 hours, led by the United States, also having an emergency meeting on Tuesday.
Trent, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for that update. That is SABC News correspondent Trent Murray, live to us from Berlin in Germany.